Brexit, the United Kingdom quitting the European Union, was supposed to be the dawn of a new era. Sovereignty, control, independence. But nearly a decade later, has Britain changed its mind? Today, we break down the UK's U-turn towards Europe. How Prime Minister Keir Starmer is resetting relations with Brussels, why Nigel Farage is back on the scene, and whether England's identity crisis is still fueling the Brexit fire. This is not just about politics, it's about who the UK is and who it wants to be. Let's start with a simple question. What was Brexit really about? Economics, immigrations, Brussels bureaucracy? Yes, but not only. Brexit was at its core an English revolt, a revolt led by a squeezed middle class, people who felt their living standards were falling, that London had gone too global and that they were being left behind. Sounds familiar? It's a pattern we've seen also in the American Midwest with MAGA movement and Trump. Here too, identity became the battleground. The English felt that their country, their traditions, their role as the historic core of the United Kingdom was being washed away in a tide of globalization, multiculturalism, and economic dislocation. And so they voted Leave, not just to exit the European Union, but to reassert who they are. Now, remember this: Scotland voted Remain, Northern Ireland voted Remain, even Wales was split, and London, the most global, most diverse, and arguably least English part of the UK, voted Remain by nearly 60%. So Brexit, it was England's message to the rest of the country. This is our nation and we want it back. And here's the thing, almost a decade later, that message has a price. Since Brexit, Britain's economy has taken a hit. Trade barriers with Europe have led to a 15% drop in trade volumes. The UK's GDP is estimated to be 4 to 5% lower than it would have been. Exporters, especially small businesses, are buried in red tape, and investment flatlined. Yes, some sectors have adapted, particularly in services, but the overall picture is clear. Britain is growing slower than its peers. Even immigration, once a central issue, has not fallen. EU immigration dropped, yes, but net migration hit record highs, driven by workers and students from Asia, Africa, and Ukraine. So the problem wasn't solved, it just changed shape. And the public, they have noticed. Today, the mood has shifted from Brexit to Bregret. Poll after poll shows a clear majority of Britons think Brexit was a mistake. A recent YouGov survey, 57% say it was wrong to leave the EU. Only 1 in 3 still support it. And in a hypothetical new referendum, a clear majority would vote to rejoin. Even many who voted Leave now say Brexit didn't deliver. They didn't vote for economic pain, they didn't vote for more paperwork, they voted for control and for national identity. And now they are wondering, what next? Enter Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Fresh off a landslide victory in 2024, he promised something bold but careful: make Brexit work. Not reverse it, not rejoin the EU, but fix what's broken. And in 2025, he did just that. Starmer hosted top EU leaders in London, and together they launched a reset deal. It's not EU membership, but it's the beginning of a new partnership. What's included? A deal to ease food and agriculture trade, fast-track lanes for Brits in EU airports, UK students rejoining Erasmus, closer coordination on energy and climate, and 5, renewed defense cooperation, even access to EU defense funds. And for young people, a new mobility scheme, bringing back the chance to work, travel, and live in Europe. But not everyone's happy. Nigel Farage, the leader of the Brexit party, is back, leading Reform UK. He won 14% of the vote in 2024 and now has 5 MPs, including himself. He says Starmer is selling out Brexit. He is talking about sovereignty, migration, and identity again. And his rhetoric? Very familiar. He's close to Trump. He calls out the usual suspect: as for example, woke culture. He posts alongside Elon Musk, who's pushing MAGA, Make Europe Great Again. Sounds familiar? It's the same ideological wave as MAGA in the US. But here's the difference. Farage's base is shrinking, it's aging, and it's surrounded by a public that's moving on. So what's next? Here's the forecast. The UK won't rejoin the EU anytime soon, but it's on track to rebuild a strong, structured partnership. Expect more regulatory alignment with the EU, closer trade integration, stronger defense cooperation, more cultural and academic exchange, and possibly associate membership down the line. Think of it like this: the UK isn't going back to Brussels, but it's slowly walking back into Europe. Why? Because it's geopolitically necessary, because it's economically smart, and because for a new generation, being British and being European are no longer in contradiction with each other. So, is the UK returning to Europe? Not officially, not yet, but people are waking up from the Brexit dream and starting to face reality. And the lines between leave and remain? They are starting to blur. EU membership is not the sole question anymore. What is starting to matter is how to build a partnership that's convenient for all sides and can satisfy English nostalgia for its national pride. What do you think? Is Starmer reset a wise compromise or a Brexit betrayal and the first step back to full EU membership? I'm Luka Juri, and this is Mittelgeo Briefings. See you next time.